Somewhere Europe has to grow out of the mindset that Europe's problems are the world's problems, but the world's problems are not Europe's problems.
Well, we have been doing this dirty work for the United States for about 3 decades, and West, including Britain.
Pakistan has a past as far as extremist groups are concerned.
There will always be two axes. At this point, I think it's an understood, accepted fact that you have the West, US-led, you have China as the next potential axis. Where does India fit into this? But are you planning to not take a side?
No, I'm sorry. That is exactly where I disagree with you. This is the construct you are trying to impose on me, and I don't accept it.
The Pahalgam tragedy in Kashmir has not only exposed Pakistan-sponsored terrorism yet again, but also the hypocrisy of the European Union. Here's why I say so. EU's top diplomat Kaja Kallas has urged both India and Pakistan to exercise restraint and pursue dialogue to diffuse tensions. On Friday, Kallas held 2 separate phone calls, one with India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and the other with his Pakistani counterpart Ishaq Dar. Referring to the situation as alarming, the top EU diplomat took to X saying, and I quote, "I urge both sides to show restraint and pursue dialogue to ease the situation. Escalation helps no one. I spoke to both Dr. Jaishankar and Ishaq Dar today to convey these messages." Now, here's why EU's equidistant approach to New Delhi and Islamabad is deeply problematic. It places the attacker and the victim at par. Also, isn't India's dialogue and diplomacy with Pakistan done to death? Quite literally, especially after the killings of innocent civilians, whether in Pahalgam, Riyasi or the Mumbai terror attacks. What has Pakistan done to end terrorism other than deny and ask for evidence, despite open admissions by the Pak Defence Minister Khwaja Asif saying that Pakistan has done the West's dirty work for decades? The latest acknowledgement coming from the former Pak Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari. Now let me uncover the double standards of this top EU diplomat who, for your information, was also Estonia's first female prime minister at the time Russia attacked Ukraine. She led the tiny EU nation from the front line in NATO's war against Russia when it began in 2022. In fact, we dug out Kallas's old posts on Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And here's what we found. The same Kaja Kallas, who is preaching restraint to India, has said that defense is not provocation and that it is important to stop the aggressor. In one post, Kallas emphasizes on the need to stop the aggressor. Sample this. Fear of escalation creates self-deterrence. As a result, some argue that helping Ukraine defend itself from aggression means to escalate. Defense is not provocation. This is what she's had to say. And in another post, she urges EU for action against Russia. This is what she said back then. "I hope Europe learned that appeasement only strengthens the aggressor. The aggressor will never stop unless he is stopped." To be honest, Indians have never really expected Europe to do much regarding Pakistan. After all, the EU is Pakistan's second most important trading partner. Besides, Europe has a historical record for its selective narrative, whether it's media or its politicians. The West has risen to new heights to fight the Ukraine crisis. Why? Because it's a white man's war. Why didn't we see the same humane response for conflicts that by their media are described as third world conflicts? After all, millions of innocent people have died in the US bombardment of Iraq, others who have suffered in equal misery in Libya, Syria, Afghanistan, Myanmar, and Gaza. Not to forget the thousands who had drowned in their escape across rough seas from Africa. Why? Because they are third world citizens. Why a different yardstick for Ukraine and a different one for Kashmir? After all, India has consistently maintained communication with both President Putin of Russia and President Zelensky of Ukraine. In fact, Prime Minister Modi has already paid historic visits to Ukraine and Russia. famously declaring that the solution cannot be found on the battlefield. And so now, the internet, which has gone into an overdrive to slam Callas, was quick to highlight Dr. Jaishankar's remark on European hypocrisy from 2022.
You know, somewhere Europe has to grow out of the mindset that Europe's problems are the world's problems, but the world's problems are not Europe's problems. That if it is you, it's yours, if it is me, it's ours. I think that's something, and I see, reflections of that. As I said, I just see this as frankly a not very clever argument, a very self-serving one. This idea that, your grand strategy must be about how you will choose. I will do what, as all of us do. I will weigh the situation, everybody, after all, how do countries eventually make decisions?
So let me just conclude by saying that all wars are tragic. So why must EU mischaracterize India's position by forcing us to choose sides? I want to end with the thoughts of Dr. Jaishankar that expose the West's self-serving interests. Listen in.
There will always be two axes at this point. I think it's an understood, accepted fact that you have the West, US-led, you have China as the next potential axis. Where does India fit into this? Are you planning to not take a side?
No, I'm sorry. That is exactly where I disagree with you. This is the construct you are trying to impose on me, and I don't accept it. I don't think it's necessary for me to join this axis or not, and if I'm not joining this, I must be with the other one. I don't accept that. I think I'm 1/5 of the world's population. I am today the 5th or 6th largest economy in the world. Forget the history, civilization bit. Everybody knows that. I think I'm entitled to have my own side.